Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome to Sofa Reviews. Today, in a misguided attempt to alienate female viewers, we're watching The Rebound.
Released in 2009, it's a romantic comedy starring Catherine Zeta-Jones.
So we start with Catherine Zeta-Jones as Sandy, a suburban mom dropping her kids off at school.
We see her spending her time at home watching some videos of a birthday party, where she makes an interesting discovery.
Oh, Molly.
Molly Foster.
You're a magician. Little magician.
Wait, so A, her husband decided to get a blowjob from his mistress at his kid's birthday party, and B, he didn't turn off the camera and somehow managed to have it pointing directly at him.
This leads to her moving to New York with her kids as she files for divorce.
Meanwhile, we get to meet Aaron walking along with his parents and trying to bore them to death with his monotony.
Get you out of your funk.
I have a job at the coffee shop.
We rejoin Sandy as she's applying for a job.
I've been raising 2 kids and, well, the truth is I'm getting divorced.
Are you trying to get a job through pity?
Although instead of explaining why she'd be good at the job, she instead decides to talk about her personal life.
Because, you know, babies take up a lot of time.
No, how could I possibly know that? I'm only a man, and it's such a well-guarded secret that babies take up a lot of time.
She finally gets to explaining how she's been following sports as she's had nothing to do at home with the kids at school.
Holy shit, nonsensical graphs! You're hired.
Elsewhere, Aram also has an interview.
Aram, I know you took some women's studies courses in college, but other than that, do you have any kind of experience that you think might have prepared you for this job?
I used to buy tampons for my mother.
You will fit in perfectly.
That's what his mom used to say.
Thankfully, Aram's situation is quickly explained by his co-worker.
You met a really hot French girl who needed a green card.
Of course, Sandy walks in for their chance encounter as she's looking at the apartment above the shop.
Later, we see that Sandy is chatting with her friend Daphne, who also happens to live in the city.
I found an apartment. Wow, you're fast. It's not great, but my husband won't be there, so that's a plus.
How are you so well adjusted?
She only seems well adjusted from your standpoint, which is probably because you were the 5th character from Sex and the City, but were cut for being too much of a tedious and ignorant slut.
Daphne explains that she set Sandy up on a date with her chiropractor.
Maybe screw him. You know, if it seems right.
Yeah, if it seems like you're desperate.
Later, we see that Sandy has taken up a self-defense class. She brings her kids, and we see Aram's new job.
Hi.
Here, it's explained that if a man says anything to you, the most appropriate response is extreme violence.
After seeing Aram getting beaten up for a bit, the instructor decides to give everyone a lecture.
All of us, as women, have developed a reservoir of resentment and anger.
So all of you, as women, have repressed your feelings to a dangerous level and most likely have psychological problems.
She ends up talking like this simmering ocean of female resentment can be accessed like the Force.
It holds the collective power of every woman who has ever been wronged.
Well, it's a good thing men have never been wronged, otherwise they might have a collective force of female hysteria to call upon as well.
Sandy volunteers for the demonstration and finally manages to get in touch with her feelings.
Oh God, all this padding means I can barely feel these attacks.
The next day, Sandy gives Aram a gift as an apology for beating him up.
And in her bid to win Mother of the Year, she asks the guy she's only met twice before to look after her children.
Later, Aram shows up to babysit and Sandy explains that her daughter Sadie is being punished.
This was her surgery.
I told you it was dead when I found it!
Yes, but I highly doubt its organs have been harvested.
It seems your daughter has a curiosity about the world and wants to know how things work. You were right to punish her.
We see Sandy off on her date and things seem to be going well.
Until for some reason, kissing her reminds him that he needs a shit.
Bizarrely, he carries on talking to her while he's on the toilet.
Hello?
I'm here. I'm here.
God, I thought I lost you for a second.
Clearly assuming that as she's a single mother, she won't have standards anymore.
They have a meal together and we rejoin them in a taxi.
Touch my cock.
And they say romance is dead.
Thankfully, she storms off back to her apartment.
where she decides to start drinking and then moan at Aram.
The following morning, the kids come running up to Aram saying that their mother is dead.
Sadly, she's just hungover, and so the film continues.
Aram takes the kids to school while Sandy struggles with work.
So, Sandy, am I fired? What? Why would you say that? I'm so hungover again. I have 2 kids and no husband, and...
Yes, you're fired for having 2 kids and no husband, because this is the 1920s.
It turns out she's actually being promoted because her graphs were so impressive.
Because the most compelling protagonists always have no challenges to overcome and find everything just lands in their lap.
Afterwards, Aram tells Sandy about his wife.
It is horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. The worst part about it, though, is I can't bring myself to finalize the divorce because if I do, then she'll get kicked out of the country.
And that'd be terrible, because it's the least that she deserves for toying with your emotions and using you.
Sandy asks Aram if he could be a full-time nanny, but his mother isn't pleased.
A nanny? You're not from Trinidad, you're from the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Did we send you to college for this?
Yeah, you should be a drug dealer, investment banker, lawyer, politician, or any other kind of job that ruins the world because clearly only impoverished black women are allowed to look after children.
We then have a montage of them spending time together with their respective dates, and them not going so well.
Yeah, I love theories. They make me a little horny.
Well, I guess that's why you're at a bar full of morons rather than a physics lecture.
Later, the kids are with their father as Sandy and Aram go to see a boxing match.
Oh, God, I could never be like this with Frank. It was like I didn't even know if I was happy when I was with him.
But you still married him.
At the fight, Sandy learns Aram turned down a job in order to be her nanny.
And you and your family are some of those people that make me feel good, make my life good, every day.
Come on, Ice!
That is the most wonderfully unjaded, naive thing I've ever heard.
Jaded, meaning bored or lacking enthusiasm, typically from having too much of something. Naive, meaning a lack of experience, wisdom or judgment. So he's bored of having too much ignorance.
After Aram is crushed by a boxer, Sandy helps him get back to the house.
They seem to be having a moment before the dad inexplicably opens the door.
Aram takes the kids off to bed as the dad tells Sandy that he wants her back.
Instead of leaving, he throws himself into the middle of their domestic dispute in order to get Sandy to tell the truth.
And by the way, I never loved you!
After she has a little rant, Sandy commands Aram goes out on a date with her.
Aram tells his friend about his date, which upsets his friend as he wanted Aram to go to his acting showcase, which is also that evening.
So he takes Sandy to the showcase, and she even manages to compliment his friend's work.
I loved your postmodern take on the whole thing. And it was creative how you acknowledged how derivative it was.
Because dragging them from their date to his shitty show wasn't selfish enough, he then demands they go out partying with him.
After partying, Sandy heads home and has a brief chat with Daphne, who is babysitting.
Thankfully, she gets rid of her quickly and then sneaks Aram in so they can have sex.
Her son, Frank, catches them having sex, and instead of being traumatised, decides he wants a drink.
If only she had a bedroom, they could have avoided all of that.
Later, we see her talking with Daphne in the gym.
Oh, well, you got that out of your system. Now you're free to meet your next real guy. What does that mean? Well, it means now, when you meet a viable man, he won't have to be a rebound.
Because a man is only viable if he's rich and old, rather than if you actually like him.
Of course, Daphne carries on telling Sandy how to live her life.
This is not about judgment. This is about my friend.
And how I'm judging her for dating a younger man who doesn't have a highly paid job.
Afterwards, we see them at Aram's parents' where he's having his birthday.
That's quick thinking, because it would have been terrible if his mother saw him kiss the woman he's dating.
So we get to see the presents that everyone got Aram.
Aram, this one is just from me.
Gummy bears and hand lotion.
The gummy bears are to attract children, and the hand lotion...
We cut to 2 months later, where Aram meets Sandy's work colleagues for the first time.
Would you like a Coke or something?
Scott.
This scene of them being bitchy about Aram's age and him being bitchy back is presumably meant to be funny rather than a justification for their murder.
Afterwards, we see them walking along, and Sandy seems to be affected by the dinner, as she starts suggesting that Aram do things because of his age.
Because the most important thing is that you conform to age-based stereotypes rather than being yourself.
Sandy tells Aram that she loves him, but seems to be troubled when he reciprocates.
Let's just take it slowly.
Is that why you had sex with him on the first date, have met his parents and are now living together?
It's soon revealed that Sandy is pregnant.
But I pull out most of the time.
Well, that's an effective form of contraception. She must be cheating on you.
They quickly decide that they're happy with this and go and see a doctor.
And that is always a good sign for future pregnancies.
What do you mean, future?
And that's why you give people the bad news first.
The doctor explains that she's had an ectopic pregnancy, and after dealing with this, Sandy decides she needs to split up with Aram.
I mean, what future could we possibly have?
Well, you could grow old together and be happy, so it's a good thing you dumped him.
We then get a montage of Sandy getting ahead in her job while Aram travels the world.
Which is, of course, integral to the plot, and not just an excuse for the filmmakers to visit some beautiful places.
5 years later, we see Aram in a museum giving a tour.
Hey.
You're the only one who gets gifts from the kids at the end of every tour.
That's probably because they're so excited the tour is over. It's good to see you.
I was gonna go get a drink. You wanna join me?
Well, I would join you for a drink, but I'm a bland moron.
Afterwards, we see Sandy at a restaurant celebrating yet another promotion.
Luckily, there's only one restaurant in New York, and so she bumps into Aram.
They have a somewhat awkward chat and reintroduction.
You look really good.
I'm 30.
So, the age gap is still the same.
After introducing us to Aram's adopted son, they all have dinner together and they finish the film by holding hands under the table. In conclusion, I suppose the only fair way to view this is as a romantic comedy. So, I guess I found it romantic when...
That's right, Matt. None of the characters seem like real people. Aram easily being the best example of this. He's bland, soulless, seems to have no ambition or drive, and despite allegedly being upset about being used and cheated on by his wife, he doesn't harbour any ill feelings or desire for revenge. He just comes across as being this lovesick puppy following a master.
Right, well I suppose it will have to go on the comedy then. In which case I found it funny when...
All the people around Sandy and Aram are awful. His mother is a tedious, snooty bitch. Neither of them have any friends that seem particularly likeable or helpful. Sandy's husband is almost comical because he's such a ridiculous, over-the-top and complete dickhead. Even the children don't seem like kids with lines that really sound like an adult should be saying them.
We're only here because our parents are getting a divorce, not to sightsee or see Phantom of the Opera.
Sadie.
Well,
Actually, Matt, could you hold these for me?
I guess Catherine Zeta-Jones is pretty good in some parts as Sandy, and it does try to get the message across that you should ignore what other people think and just love the person you love.
But of course it totally fails to actually carry through with that point. Sandy seems to end up thinking that because she's old, she's not allowed to be happy. But then, when Aram's a bit older, then suddenly it's okay.
At the end of the day, I guess this film must appeal to someone. Got a 6.3 on IMDb.
Ultimately, the moral of this dull romantic comedy seems to be that if you're in love with an older woman and she's in love with you, fuck off and grow up.